and nearly some very impossible projects which seemed very difficult and unthinkable. You would see those in the awards when they come out, but that just shows the very difficult projects that have happened and a lot of challenges that have been taken up. So I would congratulate all the winners and the others who are present here, that they've done excellent work, and I'm sure that we will see more of that going ahead in the next few years.
Fantastic, fantastic. Mr. Bhatia, when we speak about impact, innovation, and sustainability, was it difficult to find all of this together in one project? Because a lot of times we do see that balancing sustainability with infra at that speed can be a challenge. What was your initial thought when you were seeing all these three pillars in the nomination?
Roads, shipping, ports, everything, but being a little away from these sectors in the last 2-3 years, being the Upalokayukt, I was extremely impressed with some projects in the road sector.
From the point of view of the quality projects that are coming, do you see a huge change in the last 5 years? In just the last 4-5 years?
In some sectors, especially road and metro. In ports, there is some change, there is some initiative, but the level is much higher, which I saw in the roads and the metro sector. So there is, they've reached a different level completely.
I think it's also about getting innovation in place.
Say it not just talk about the innovation first, but let's talk about the, we are talking about socio-economic also one of the time. So we talk about the employment and the more number of roads getting constructed and what kind of employment got generated. Just to give a lot of statistics are available, but just to make the thing simple, the 1 kilometer road is built, almost 1 million labors, 1 million employment is generated per day. When I'm talking about the employment, 1 million people gets a job per day, direct or indirect. So that kind of employment road is generating. Maybe some of the here will agree with that. So when I'm saying direct and indirect together. So this has changed tremendous. That has made a big socio-economic impact when I'm talking about road. And if you add other infrastructure projects, infras, what kind of, we can see that impact which has already taken place and which is going to take place. Coming back to, definitely, we were to talk about the innovation. Yes, a lot of innovations are taking place in the road sector. Government has allowed, you can go. Mechanization plays a very vital role as it is. And in that mechanization, this digital controls, which takes care of human element gets reduced, error of human element, because the skill level, what we used to have 10 years before for a particular person, may be reduced to that extent. But when the digital technology coming into picture, lot many things are happening, and digital control, when I say 360, yes, we can control sitting in one end of the country, and we can control the second, what's happening on the other side of the country by digital control, using the various digital controls. And that's what I would like to say.
Thank you, sir, for that comment. Well, it's a marquee year if you look at the allocation of 3.3% of GDP to infrastructure in FY24. There is budgetary outlay increase of almost 5 lakh crores in FY24, sir. We are looking at operationalizing 23 waterways by 2030 and 2 lakh kilometer national highway network by 2025. These are lofty targets. What is the kind of pressure that goes in timeliness when you will see a lot of urban development and also satellite towns are developing, but एक सवाल जो सभी पूछते हैं वो ये project खत्म कब होगा? You know, and a lot of stress is on all the stakeholders about the timing of it. Is innovation the answer? Is using the new tech the answer to expedite these projects? Do we need a change there? What are some of the places where we are lacking at the moment, which if put in place, at least the time spent on these
and if the projects are structured with incentives for timely completion or disincentives for delays, we find that the projects by and large invariably complete on time. I think he is one of the leading one of the leading concessionaires we have in the road sector. And in the HAM mode of construction, for example, we had very specifically emphasized the incentives for timely or early completion and penalties for delayed completion. And you will see across the spectrum, irrespective of who is the builder.
Dealt with so many projects that the quality of monitoring still needs a lot of improvement. When I saw the 5th oil terminal which we were dealing with in Mumbai port, the monitoring was almost all monitoring was being done by outside agencies. And it was way better than what we are doing. And I've seen so many projects lagging behind, going behind time and all that. That project got completed on time, and it was a hugely difficult project. Everything taking pipes under sea and all that. So probably for great success in future infrastructure projects, we need to train our people in the quality monitoring, quality time monitoring, project management. We have been doing it. Some projects are successful. But the lessons learned from those projects need to be incorporated in the next ones.
Enough time on really defining what is the role of the regulator and finding the right people to fit in. There's no point just having people with a Sarkari background being plunked onto a regulatory body. There are enough expertise in the field. We need a way to draw that expertise and put them in the right location.
More productive way. And what are the challenges there?
Well, you're talking about development of destinations at the local level. Predominantly, you know, now there is a thinking coming that you have to strengthen. What we really lack is a very good destination management bodies at the local level. So, I mean, we have world-class, say, World Heritage says, UNESCO World Heritage sites at many places. There are 40 of them now in India. But many places we don't have a strong, robust destination management organizations. So we are moving in that direction where you have a kind of a strong destination management at the local level, which is, of course, primarily moved in by the local body, be it an elected body or a body of officials. But that brings in a cross-cutting experience across all departments, as well as private agencies, as well as others. And there are, some states where this has gone off very...
It is to do with, of course, Sir mentioned the policy frameworks, there are compliances, etc. Is the infra development then also getting a little staggered behind because of all of these very Sarkari work, to be honest, in the sense that, what kind of a partnership there needs to be when, say, private stakeholders are coming with public stakeholders, and all of these policy-centric decisions need to be expedited.
Right. I mean, that's a sensitive topic about land acquisition. Let's not go into much detail. But yes, public-private partnership being talked every now and then. And if it can go to the project-centric level, and that trust has to be built. So where I think a much more some about bureaucracy, keeping that bureaucracy or Sarkari kind of thing just aside. But if the trust between the concessioner and the authority is well developed with the local government, things can go better. Then we also felt that we should definitely contribute and we should move ahead. So sitting day by day backwards because of pointing out some of the reasons, it fetched better result, and some of project definitely gives better result where my client or authority was very much demanding and the robust monitoring was there.
So would you like to add to that? Talking about public and private partnerships, it's not always a rosy marriage. There are challenges, and a lot of counseling is required. So I would like to know from you, Sanjay, that, what are the challenges that a public and private...
Of that is that we are not doing a partnership. We are doing a owner and lessee relationship. We are doing we are acting like a regulator and the other guy is our contractor. It's not a partnership. When something happens, if, let's say, a PPP project is done between Mumbai Port and a subsidiary of Mumbai Port, it will be treated very differently. But there is a private guy coming, so who's going to take the risk? Who's going to handle this? Hugely different. Years after that, what the result comes, that goes to the courts. And nobody finally comes. In fact, sir, I was thinking that when a contract is being signed, that is the time when champagnes are being opened. You trust each other. At that time, both parties should nominate one person whom they both trust and say that this guy will mediate whatever happens. And he has to take into consideration all the risks and all the changes which are happening in the project. Then these projects will succeed. That is my thinking, rather than afterwards just disputing everything. I've seen OCT of Mumbai Port, I've seen Kandla projects, and we were just disputing, that's all. Even when we were coming up with a solution, the solution was not acceptable to the government. So there was issues like these.
Yes, I think my experience has been mixed. It's not totally negative as in the ports. For instance, the PPP has worked very successfully in the airports that we see. Some of the work that has happened in the private sector and by the public authority both have been phenomenal. Especially the projects that you see in 2005, when the first wave of privatization took place, Airport Authority of India had almost 100% of the traffic in India. Today it is below 50%. And the other private operators have come, Delhi and Mumbai, then Bangalore, Hyderabad, then the Airport Authority went ahead with 6 airports privatization, and they're doing very well wherever the private operators have come in. And that's because of what Sir mentioned, Mr. Chibber, a very robust regulatory framework where the ERA, the ministry, the private operators, and the leading public operator, Airport Authority, have all worked in tandem to deliver the kind of results. And this has been beneficial for all. Not only has the traveling public got better services, but the revenues of the Airport Authority of India have gone up significantly because of the privatization, which has helped them fund new other projects in the hinterland, which were not thought of financially viable, socially viable. Now, but so that's a very rosy picture, very good story, a success story. But if from the other sector where I worked in power,
we were the pioneers for PPP when we compare different verticals. I think, if you want to make a success of PPP, firstly, you have to understand the philosophy behind it. If you are not philosophically oriented towards PPP, you will never get it right. And we initially thought that we were doing a great job in the road sector. When we started looking at alternatives within the PPP framework, we realized to our horror that many countries were ahead of us, many. And a country like Brazil was farming out every project, whether it was a health sector, it was a hospital, it was a school, whether it was a waterworks, it was all going through the PPP route. And they were able to structure these projects in a win-win manner. And they were not having the kind of disputes that we have. They were not having the kind of delays that we have. It was across the board. So when Weber was reading out the enhanced allocations, budgetary allocations, it's a good thing in terms of signaling a government's intent that we will focus and continue the focus on infrastructure. But that need not be necessarily linked to the budget allocations. Because if you have a budget, the engineers are smiling, the contractors are smiling, the politicians are smiling. On an EPC, you can have flexibility. But on a genuine PPP project, there are no freebies. So I think before we, in fact, if we really have to sustain the kind of pace that is required to cover the infrastructure gap, or the infrastructure, the missing gap because ours is a huge country. And another decade of this pace, or even a decade of this pace of construction will still leave us short of the kind of infrastructure that we need. So necessarily we will have to look at PPP a little more seriously. And that's why right in the beginning, and I echo what Arvind has said, you need a robust regulatory system. Infrastructure by definition will want long-term capital. Long-term capital is available, but long-term capital requires certain comfort. You can't have infrastructure projects cast in stone. We, because of, as Bhatia Saab said, CVC, this problem, that problem, we say the project framework is this, and you shall for 30 years not the import of coal, because domestic coal production is getting impacted. Now somebody has put in investments of millions of dollars on an exclusive coal you can draw down on.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. We have only time for that much of a discussion, but thank you so much for your time and, of course, for taking our time as jurors as well. We will enjoy, of course, the rest of the evening because you have painstakingly done the job of...
Can I suggest we just go at impact, just for
yes, sure.
as a last round?
Yeah.
Because, you know, and this was one of the three criteria that was selected, the impactful projects. You know, and I was a complete believer that the railways is an overspend and we could divert that money for making roads, and that would be a better spend. But once the railways came in, it's a huge change. You know, one rake of railways coming in means for the next 3 months your petroleum problem is solved. The second rain coming in with food grains, next 3 months your food grain problem is solved. There is no landslide today and then people are running helter-skelter. So impactful projects are something very, very, transformative. I remember when the government came in 2014, the PM said, please look at neighborhood connectivity. Right. So we had a blueprint for Nepal, for Bhutan, for Bangladesh and Myanmar. And we also saw the economic integration and the strategic value. The psyche of a Sri Lankan that he's connected to the Indian mainland makes him start thinking differently. So I just thought I'll share this.
Wonderful. Yeah. That's a high note to end our discussion. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time and insights. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for that enlightening session. Indeed, in the landscape of India's dynamic growth, the convergence of urban development and efficient transportation is paramount to fostering sustainable, vibrant cities. Ladies and gentlemen, to further delve into the intricacies of nomination process, please join me in welcoming on stage Davinder Sandhu, co-founder and chairperson, Primus Partner, for this special address. Just to let you know, Primus Partner is the knowledge partner for this event. Please, big round of applause. Welcome, Mr. Davinder Sandhu.
That can we hold the inaugural event this year before the Model Code of Conduct, which everybody expects in another 4 or 5 days. So that was actually the sort of stopper for ourselves. But despite that fact, I think that the Build India team has done a fabulous job. There were more than 60 nominations, as mentioned. And so that suggestion is taken, of course, care of. This will be an annual event, and we really look forward to that. Can I have the presentation, please? I believe there's a presentation, or would you like me to? Or we can skip the presentation. So I think most of the jurors have already mentioned the 3 markers of innovation. There was impact, and there is sustainability. I think the jurors took the right decision on saying that we will not look at impact for those projects that are still not completed, because naturally a project must complete, it must have a certain life for us to know what are the outcomes beyond the output of the project itself. So that was an important decision that was taken, and that's the way it went. In terms of innovation, those projects that were under construction were also taken care of, because while examining the data that came in, we realized that during the phase of construction itself, there are a number of innovations that are seen which we would like to advocate. So I think beyond those 2 markers is where you see most of these projects spread out. And there were 2 projects, I believe, that the jury finally picked out as best across the class. I think when the jury's decision is placed before you, we'll all applaud the designers, all the people who worked on those projects, and of course the project sponsors who led those projects towards completion. So this was the broad framework, but I would also like to share with you that post-event, we plan to bring out a knowledge paper. The whole idea being that whatever innovations have happened here and what forward, because I think some of the biggest projects, the biggest capex in all these sectors will happen in India in the 10 or 15 years going ahead. And that learning for me was that the Canadian Society of Civil Engineers actually brought out only one book at their annual event. Ladies and gentlemen, that book is called the Book of Failures, because they say that at our annual event, we want to know what didn't work. What worked is fantastic, but it is more important to share what did not work. And I will be discussing with Weber post the event to see how we can build that in a very nice manner, that it's not critical or, because we really want to celebrate the building of India's infrastructure. But if there are any lessons that we also need to take to the country in terms of what not to do, that would also be important. So thank you for supporting us today, the fabulous jury and the fabulous audience here, and our other knowledge partners and TV channels. We will be making this an annual event. And I now request the second panelists to kindly come on stage. This is a panel discussion on innovation as a catalyst, how innovation is propelling infrastructure forward, and that sustainability is the right way. Can I request Paul? I see you there. Please come on stage. Paul Jensen is Managing Director of the European Business Technology Center. We are also very proud to see European representatives